So we're going to start with this, one of the 25 lots on offer in the Propstore auction this year. This comes from Stuart Freeborn, the master makeup artist. And what you're looking at right now is a bust, a fiberglass bust of Christopher Reeve from Superman the movie. And right now, myself and my two friends, Alexei Lambley-Steel and Andrew Hanton, we are currently looking at this and we are trying to kind of get a gauge on where this might have been featured. And Alexei, you seem to think the fire and ice sequence?
Well, it is showing telltale signs of burns. I mean, it would have been perfect for the scene. Obviously, Chris not standing in and doing it himself. And visual effects wise, it's perfect.
Yep, I would probably go with that. And as you can see, it's just, perfect live cast of the man himself, and it's been put through its paces. It's an incredible lot. It comes with the chest. I mean, what are the chances of finding something like this 42 years later? An actual honest to God piece of movie history still in its box. That's the first lot. We find ourselves round to this. Now, Propstore over the years have offered many of the Superman crystals, and they've come up at auction in various other places too, but this is the first time I've actually seen, I mean, for a start, just to give you an idea, this is about 18 inches in length, so this is bigger than any of the kind of standard ones that you may have seen. And if you look at the listing for this, it says that it's a prototype, and as good a description as that is, for anybody that's actually interested in purchasing this, I can offer an alternative, and that is that if you look at the deleted scenes from Superman 4, if you look at the little montage where they recreate the escape of Kal-El, the guy who's playing Joel actually has the energy module in his hand, and as he puts it into the spaceship, if you look down, there's a whole bed of these, what I believe are these anyway. And the tell is the green tip on the end. I mean, everything's clear as it should be, but the chemical dip process that they use to create these things, it looks like there's a whole bunch of them to form the kind of mock-up starship that they built for Superman 4. And of course, this is from Superman 4, I might add. A fabulous piece, so rare. And yes, screen used in so much as it's from a deleted scene, and we hope to see the whole thing one day where it's restored, and then we can know for sure. But until that time, there it is. Now, onto these. Wow. Let's do the glasses first. I'm not too sure of the story of these. Obviously, these are a pair of Clark Kent glasses. Anyone want to dive in here and speculate onto... they've got... they're Anclines, so they're designer from back in the day.
We were talking about them potentially being a
standing glasses, yeah. That's what they're listed as in the catalogue. Whether that means that they were there for stunt purposes or whatever, or just there for somebody to wear in place of Christopher Reeve between shots, who knows? But, how iconic can a pair of glasses be? That much. Moving on to the two screen-used wigs. Now, originally, we kind of speculated that these might both be from Superman 3, but the tell with... Again, if you look at, if you go back through my videos on my channel, I did wigs. I mean, I did wigs to death. And I restored a pair of Stuntman wigs from Superman 3. These are very similar. They're the same chestnut kind of conker brown that I had for the Stuntman. But the biggest difference between those and these is that, I mean, these are so obviously worn by Chris. I mean, these have been restored to a certain extent. I mean, if they were anything like the ones that I operated on, I mean, they were like roadkill. So whoever took these out of the box and recreated the style did a bang-up job. Although I don't think they've touched that curl. That's just way too kind of on the money to be anything other than how it was. And again, the tell between Superman 3 wigs and obviously the other films is that the blonde streaks in the sides, which he had for 3, and that's not present here. So these, as far as I can tell, Superman 1 and 2, and they are fabulous examples at that. Just as good as it gets. Now, I'm going to talk about this a bit more, but the displays that you're looking at, the stands, and this kind of mannequin heads that have been cut out to accommodate the wigs themselves. This is the Propstore touch. This is the difference between what's offered by these guys as opposed to wherever else you might buy them. They are finished pieces ready for display. They are cared for, they are restored to a degree, and then they are put together with the collector, with the consumer in mind specifically. What's going to look best? And I think some of the philosophy behind this is that, especially in the case of these wigs, is if you put it on like a plain foam head with a face, then that kind of detracts from what it is and what they are. Your attention, your focus should be exactly on the wigs themselves, and they've done a bang-up job. You're going to see a few more examples in a minute of the Propstore touch, but this is just the first one. And I've never seen such well-maintained pieces, especially with something like a lace front wig. I mean, my God, how does that survive 42 years? But there they are, folks. One Clark Kent, one Superman with a trademark curl. Look at that. Moving on. Speaking of iconic, this is more of your... I choke on the word standard because there should be no such thing as a standard memory crystal, should there? There you go. I was just actually wondering whether or not this could have been one held by Marlon Brando, because it looks very similar to me. It's very difficult, to screen match these things because of the facets of them and how they catch light, and who can tell one crystal from another. But this lovely little bit of acrylic from Superman 1, Superman 2 is simply the real deal. As to where it features, it almost kind of doesn't matter, because you know that it was there, whether it was in the Fortress set, whether it was in the console of the Fortress of Solitude, or whether it was on Krypton, or both. Nevertheless, there it is. Moving on to production-made Superman model unit, the rectangle clapperboard from the model unit. Fabulous that we've got names, we've got details, we've got dates. If you watch the podcast that I spoke about earlier with Jim and Jay, Jim actually knew exactly what was being shot that day, so you get an idea from that. Another piece that has survived the rigors of time and still looks wonderful. And now to this. This is probably my favourite piece. Again, from Stuart Freeborn. In a very similar vein to the special effects head, the bust that we just saw that was used in Fire and Ice. This is another full head live cast, Christopher Reeve, with the eyes. Well, presumably the eyes were in there at one point. As you can see, if I go over the top, we have residue from probably most likely the wig. We've certainly got the strip of Velcro that would have held the wig in place. The ears are perished because they were probably latex, probably a different material than the fiberglass and the rest of the head was made from. But again, I mean, there's no doubt, is there? It's just one of those things where you look at it and you instantaneously know who it is, even in this state. It's hairless, it's eyeless, and yet unmistakable. So that's a superb piece. And again, there's a Propstore touch.
They go ideally with the wigs to whoever bought.
And they would go ideally with the wigs to whoever bought that, but would I want to change that display? And oh, what a dilemma.
You could have one day Clark Kent, one day Superman.
You could alternate, but what's the chances? All I'm here to tell you is that they're so fabulous in their own right. If you had one, if you had both, where would you even begin? So, moving on. Cosmonaut costume from Superman 4 from the opening sequence. This is a fantastic costume, and I hope that it captures every bit as vivid as it is in reality. Soyuz was the name of the spacecraft in the opening Superman 4. And this outfit worn by the captain. If you remember, there are two crew aboard the Soyuz. There's a male and a female. And there's the, we'll call him Comrade Sinatra, the spacewalker outside. So that's that. What's very interesting is this comes as part of the lot with this US version. Now, I'm sure like me, you're thinking, hang on a second, I don't remember an astronaut costume or a US astronaut costume being in the opening sequence of Superman 4. Nevertheless, one was made. Now, I've been looking at scripts and I've been looking at other drafts to see at which point that this may have featured, thinking that, you know, in the opening of Superman 4, it might have been a joint mission between the Russians and America. But in one of the early drafts I read, it's a longer scene, and the Russians actually call upon the US to help them before Superman arrives. And the Americans say, in so many words, it's a shame that relations between us right now are so bad, otherwise we'd do our best to get somebody up there. This was 1986. So there you go. What a superb piece. Again, Lieutenant Ferguson couldn't find any mention of him. The only thing that I've found is the fact that in the end credits, there is somebody credited as a third astronaut in the capsule. But presumably they're Russian, so I don't know. That's as far as I can get. However, superb piece. Now, moving on to, appropriately enough, this is one of my absolute favourites, and I think what it is about this is that it kind of takes me back to my childhood, because the trading card of Miss Tessmacher, she had this dress, and in all the publicity photographs, she's wearing this stunning red outfit that you'll remember from midway through Superman the movie, where Lex Luthor begins his plan to sink Southern California. This is actually marked up as dress for lying down on floor, so the scene where she's laid beside the crashed car and Larry Hagman stands over her. And from the look of this, Valerie Perrine was gifted in so many ways. I can't even tell you. But that to me is just super iconic. And again, I don't know where this even came. Anybody know where this came from?
Yeah.
Where was this from? Who found it? Where was it?
Come from a crew source.
It came from?
Crew source.
A crew source. Absolutely wonderful.
How many would there have been, though?
How many would there have been? Well, that's a good question, but you could ask that about pretty much anything here. How many duplicates do they make of anything? You just don't know. But I think all that's really kind of important is the fact that not only do they endure, but they endure so well. I mean, there's not a mark on any of these things, not so much as a, makeup residue or anything. They're just perfect. And speaking of doubles, let's finish on possibly the highlight of the group. These three superb miniatures. Now I say miniatures, but gosh, they're 20 inches long a piece. Flying miniatures, built by Derek Meddings, obviously, the master. So many masters involved with this film. Stuart Freeborn, Derek Meddings, all long gone, but, it's at moments like these when you look at what they leave behind that their legacy becomes very apparent, because look at the detail. General Zod, Helen Slater's Supergirl. So often you see, if you see these things at all, miniatures, I mean, they are just that, 5 or 6 inches across, usually broken at some point, or something's missing. But to find three, and I was kind of the mind that the Zod miniature, if you can recall the scene in Superman 2, just before he, in the Metropolis battle, just as he turns up and he says, "Son of Jor-El, we begin to think you're a coward." I think the shot where he zooms in on screen from left to right, I'm fairly certain it's this miniature. I might be wrong, but they would have been used again probably in the fortress scenes, long distance shots. They're probably used quite a bit, actually. Usually they're just built for a specific scene and either done away with or destroyed. But these, the survive. I mean, if I can get a decent shot of that, if you look at Non's head, on his hairline, you'll see there's a hole drilled there, which corresponds with one in his back, where a fishing line thread would have been thread through, and the flying effect would have been achieved by just shunting him down it. It's only a couple of seconds of footage, remember? So if you do manage to get him to balance for a few seconds as he charges down a filament, then so much the better. Supergirl even has real hair. I mean, the level of... Just look. I will say that this figure of Helen Slater is a lot more achieved than some of the Christopher Reeve ones that I've seen. I mean, they're usually really haphazard with the S-shield and that kind of stuff, but she is an absolute vision. So if you're thinking, like any decent Superman fan would be, of investing in any of these pieces, I'm here to tell you that your breath will be suitably taken. And it really doesn't matter which lot you settle upon, or which lot, I should say, you're lucky enough to get, because I can't imagine for a moment that anybody or anything will go less than its speculated price. Oh, there is one more thing, just out of curiosity, and that is this lovely Superman 4 script. It's a big wad of paperwork, this, much thicker than the photos will give it credit for. And what kind of information would be in there, I really wonder. I'm going to find out, actually. This is signed as well. Jackie Cooper, Christopher Reeve, and Gene Hackman, I think, have all signed this. So it's worth having for the autographs alone, folks. Never mind the content, which, you know, if you're a well-documented Superman 4 fruit like me, then you're really going to be interested in the contents of that. So, what's your favourite piece, guys?
Hard to choose. I think the miniatures are absolutely stunning.
What do you like about the miniatures, Andy?
The level of detail.
Yeah.
For a faraway shot which lasts seconds, detail is phenomenal. But you really get a strong connection to the movie that you love, and Christopher Reeve with those wigs.
Yeah.
They're right there.
Yeah, we're just saying how is it like his DNA is going to be entwined in those.
Yeah, it's overwhelming. Takes your breath away.
I'm only, what am I? I'm about 6 feet away from the table, and look at those miniatures. I mean, that off they go. That's how they do it. Alexei, tell me your favourite piece. Yes.
The miniatures and the scripts. And the miniatures, to me, they're not far away from being toys. As in, they could have been produced as toys. They could have been sold as toys. The quality, the detail, even the way that they've been moulded, it's very precise.
Absolutely. Well, they could have been. They would have been marvelous garage kits, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Resin garage kits, like
Exactly.
2-3 pieces.
Painting
God, I
yourself
would
at
have
home.
died for something like that back in the day. Imagine all 3 villains in flying
toys
poses.
that would do what they did in the movies, wouldn't it? Fly down a line.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they could have quite easily have released them like that.
Yeah. Mego tried to do a similar thing where they tried to have their figures flying filaments, but it wasn't anywhere near as achieved as this. I think the most, again, I'm going to pull right back so you can have a look at the entire range on offer, but, you know, where else could you go on this planet or any other that has such a diverse gathering of incredible screen use Superman material? It wouldn't happen. I mean, show me, take me there. I would be very willing.
Next year's visit to Propstore.
Next year's visit to Propstore, because as I said in my opening narration, they've done it again, folks. It's just your one-stop place. There are many imitators, but just don't. It speaks for itself, doesn't it? As for me, I think, just like Andy says, I think for me it's this. It's just nice to see him again, you know, and just like Andy was saying, the intimacy of something like this that you know, was worn. It just doesn't get any better. But there it is. That's the Superman section, the Superman, self-contained museum that is on offer this year in the Propstore auction, which is next month. Tim, give me the dates. 9th, 10th, and 11th of November. It's a 3-day walloper this time, guys. The main lots are under the gavel, I think, on the first day, and there are some more on the 3rd. So if you haven't registered, register. Do it now. I don't think I could have done a better job of showing you well, show and tell, which is what we excel at around here. Show and tell is the thing, and you've heard it from a fan's perspective. We've checked it over, and you know it doesn't get any better, basically. So I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen, and you know, all the best to you if you're bidding. You know, all the best to you in the world, and good luck, and know and be happy with the fact that you have got a superb piece of film history.